repeats over and over, just like the wheels. So you're scientists, you're here. Fantastic. Are you ready for science? You have your curious brain? Awesome. Do you already have your notebook ready to go? So super. We know that scientists always have their curious brains, and they're always making observations that they're writing down. And that's exactly what we've been doing all this week. We've learned about living things, the things that grow and reproduce. And we know that living things need 4 basic needs: water, food, shelter and space, and air. This week we've been seeing that when living things get their 4 basic needs, they can grow and reproduce. And that, the way they change, that's all about life cycles. We're experts at this point. I was so interested to see, these life cycles seem so similar, but some of the things about them are a little bit different. So I wrote out all of the life cycles we talked about this week, and I thought, let's talk about what's similar and what's different. Now, I know it's kind of hard to read on here, but that's totally okay. I'll talk through it, and later you'll have pictures to help. So, life cycles are the series of changes that living things go through during their lifetime. And we know that those changes repeat over and over and over, just like the wheels on our bicycles spin around and around. Life cycles repeat over and over and over. We saw this with humans, us. We start as a fetus, a baby that hasn't been born yet. Then, when we are born, we move into the next stage. We change, we grow into a baby. Babies are so cute. I know a lot of you have baby brothers and sisters. You've seen this firsthand. Babies grow up to be children, and then children grow up to be adults. And adults can have their own babies. It repeats itself. It's a cycle, a life cycle. Then we saw mammals. And mammals are animals that are just like humans. Humans are mammals. Fun fact, we know that mammals also have babies in their bellies. And those babies are born into babies who become young animals, who turn into adults, who then have their own babies. Again, the cycle repeats over and over and over. Then we move into other animals like reptiles or birds who lay eggs. Eggs hatch to have a baby animal. The baby animal turns into a young animal, and that young animal becomes an adult who can also lay eggs. It's a cycle. It repeats over and over and over. And yesterday we looked at plants. Plants, it's a different story. They start out as seeds, which become sprouts, which become saplings, which turn into adult plants, just like my one over here. Those flower and produce fruit, like my apple, and inside the fruit is more seeds. Again, a cycle. It repeats over and over and over. Life cycles are the changes that living things go through during their lifetime. Now, when we look at these cycles and we put them side by side, what do you notice? Do you see anything that's similar? Do you see anything that's different? Let's talk about it. Well, let's start with similarities, and it's always so helpful to make lists. So I'm going to make a list up on our board. When I look at these life cycles, one thing stands out to me every time. It repeats. They all repeat. We know that about every life cycle. It always goes over and over and over. It repeats. What else do you notice? Well, I see a trend. Do you see it? Every living thing starts small and it gets bigger. And we know that's true. Living things grow. And, well, what else do living things do? They reproduce. Do you see that in here? Every single life cycle has reproduction. Adults reproduce, and that's how they make more babies. So do mammals and reptiles, and plants reproduce by spreading seeds. So they reproduce. Of course they grow and reproduce. It is a life cycle. Come on, Miss Haverstick. Second grade scientist, you're probably like, I knew that already, Miss Haverstick. That's okay. You guys are amazing. So, those are some similarities, and maybe you see more similarities, and that's cool too. But what about differences? Are these life cycles exactly the same? Or do you notice anything different about them? What do you see? I see something. So, all of these have 4 stages, but then we get to plants, and oh my goodness, there are so many stages in a plant's life. So, they have different numbers of stages. And I notice another difference. So, humans, mammals, and reptiles, they all move around. We do not stay in one place. That would be so sad. I love moving. So plants, they don't really move much, do they? They kind of stay in one spot. So sometimes they move, sometimes they stay in one spot. And I notice another pretty big difference. And that is the first stage of the life cycle. Some start out as a fetus, a baby before it's born, and some start out as an egg, and then others start out as a seed. So, even just now with your teamwork, I'm seeing that we can find a lot of similarities and differences between these life cycles. That is so cool. Wow, I mean, second grade scientists, I don't know what I would do without your help. Teamwork is so important, isn't it? We got to talk with 2 community experts this week. We talked to Dr. Dad and we talked to biologist Blake, and they helped us learn so much about life cycles. And then together, we use our curious brains to learn all about life cycles together using teamwork. Oh my goodness. We are just experts at living things. We know living things grow and reproduce. They need their 4 basic needs, and all living things go through life cycles. Sometimes they're similar and sometimes they're different. And we can see those similarities and differences. But we know that every living thing has a life cycle. And life cycles are those changes that a living thing goes through throughout its lifetime. And that life cycle, just like the wheels on our bikes go around and around, the life cycles repeat over and over. Every single one. It's amazing. Second grade scientists, I'm ready to challenge you because I know you can do it. On Google Classroom, you get to do something just like we did here. You are going to compare 2 life cycles at a time. First, you're going to look at the human life cycle and the reptile life cycle. Think to yourself and use your curious brain and wonder, how are they similar? How are they different? After you do that, you get to compare a mammal life cycle with a plant life cycle. What do you notice about those 2? How are they similar? How are they different? Maybe you can mention some of the things that we talked about here. Maybe you'll notice some of your own things. And then after that, of course, go and look at the pictures of our seed bag. Isn't it so cool to see a life cycle in action? Wow, I hope you've been writing down any questions, things you're curious about, and you can talk with them with your teacher. It's so cool to see how seeds are life that is growing and changing and reproducing right before our eyes. Second grade scientists, I have loved learning about life cycles with you, and I can't wait until we get to do science again. Have a great day.